Hey everyone, Zero Fossil Fuel. Today is Saturday, November 2nd, 2013, and this is an update from the laundry room. Well, today is honeydew day, and generally speaking I would not normally record videos like this, but considering the fact that many of my off-topic alternative energy videos have been some of my most popular videos, I decided that today I was going to go ahead and record what it is that I'm doing to hopefully save some of you some trouble in the future. Honeydew Day today is to replace this. This is a whole house water filter that has failed and is leaking and is a pain in my ass every single time I try to change the filter. So I have gone to Home Depot and I have purchased a replacement whole house water filter. Against my better judgment, I bought a General Electric because that's all Home Depot carries. Fortunately, this is not an electrical device, so I'm hoping that the General Electric non-electrical device will actually work better than most General Electric electrical devices, which I have sworn to never, ever, ever buy again. Okay, enough of that rant. So, what I have here is I have a propane cylinder with electrostatic ignition head, assortment of wrenches, pipe cutter, section of 3/4 inch pipe, and some compression fittings. So let's get started. Alright, so let's survey what we've got. Down here we have the water filter canister that I need to replace. The inlet side is on the right hand side, the outlet side is on the left, and I have a ball valve there that I actually want to replace with a compression fitting release union that is very similar to that union right there. Okay, so I want to be able with a wrench to remove this entire assembly, and unfortunately right now I cannot, because the pipe that was originally assembled to the water filter has been sweat fitted into place, and there is no mechanism to release the entire assembly all at once. So that's part of what I'm going to fix. The other part is, I can't really see it. There you can see it. There's the main inlet valve. It's just a standard 3/4 inch pipe valve with compression gasket around the shaft, etc., etc. I want to replace that with the ball valve, so I bought a new ball valve for that. Alright. And so on the fuse panel, fuse is number, you probably cannot read that. I'm sure you cannot read that. Maybe you can, I don't know. We'll find out later when I edit the video. Fuses 7 and 8 right there are the 240 volt supply to the water pump. So I've unscrewed those to turn off the water pump, and I have bled all of the pressure out of the system. I have also turned off the 240 volt AC breaker box to the water heater, which is electric, because if the water heater drains and the electric elements become exposed, they would glow red hot. That would be a bad thing. So I've turned that off as well, and now the house has no water pressure, and I am free now to go ahead and replace this piece of crap. With this piece of crap. From this piece of crap company, who I absolutely abhor. But unfortunately, like I said, that's all Home Depot carried, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the bottom canister and drain any remaining water out of the system, hopefully. This is the brand new filter that I just put in here this morning, hoping that I can get this back together without leaking. But that was not to be the case. You know, I might actually be able to do this without a whole lot of pain and suffering here. Interesting. Okay. So I was actually able to get the old water filter head off without too much trouble. Okay, so the old valve head is off, filter head. That's history. So I'm just going to clean off some of the excess Teflon tape on these threads. Replace it with new Teflon tape. And if the stars are all in proper alignment, I might actually get this thing back together without a whole lot of difficulty. Of course, you have to pay attention to what side is marked inlet and outlet because the valve is dependent on the water pressure to keep it sealed. But I like this handle mechanism that GE uses on their water filter as opposed to this type of valve mechanism, which you'd have to depress and then turn and let pop up. It was under water pressure was binding very hard and very prone to leaking, so that's the reason we're replacing this. This right here is the threaded fitting that I'm going to put into this NPT threaded opening. And when you apply your Teflon tape to this threaded fitting, you always want to apply it in the opposite direction that you will be screwing it in. So I'm going to be screwing it in clockwise this way into the opening, and I'm going to go around with the Teflon tape counterclockwise like this, so that the end of the tape is always trailing as you're assembling the threads. That way it's always keeping itself tight rather than binding and pushing on the edge of the free end of the tape. And believe me, I'm going to make sure to use enough of this because this is where it was leaking the last time, and I don't want it leaking this time. So pull it nice and tight, deep into the threads. Like so. And then you just rip it. So this is the inlet side. I'm going to assemble it. Now you have to keep in mind, this head is plastic and it does expand as the threads go in, so I'm going to hope that that seals. Alright, so there's the remaining thread on the outlet side that I screw the head on to, and there's my main shutoff to the house. That ball valve is still actually in pretty good shape, so I'm not going to change it. Now I'm going to screw it on this way, so I go around. Like so. I'm very glad I do not have to sweat the copper pipes right now. because there's still water in the pipes. And of course water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Solder melts at 600-700 degrees. So if you have any water at all remaining in your pipes, you have to get it out if you're going to solder new unions in there. That is oftentimes a very big pain in the ass. Okay. Now what has become painfully obvious all of a sudden is the fact that the span between the inlet fitting and the outlet fitting on the old head for the water filter is more narrow than it is on the new water filter, which is like so in comparison. So my compression fittings on the pipe down below here are not going to line up exactly as I want them to. Fortunately, the way it was assembled gives me the opportunity to bend the pipes a little bit. And I pray that there is enough give in there to allow me to do this. Otherwise I am going to have to cut this copper pipe on the fitting here, on this first fitting that I assembled. And it looks like I'm going to have to do that anyway. Alright, so I'm going to show you what I just encountered. Okay. My head is not completely assembled. I've probably got another 1/4 of an inch that I can go before that thread is completely engaged. But you can see over here my compression fitting is not going to fit. I've got almost an inch to go, so I need to cut off about 3/4 of an inch from this piece of pipe here and re-sweat this fitting right here in order to get those to line up before I can complete this assembly. So, are we having fun yet? And of course, now that I've applied the Teflon tape to this first fitting and assembled it completely, you'll notice that the tape is now completely compressed into the fittings, and I'm going to have to redo this all over again. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this down to the shed. You'll see this little section of copper pipe actually extends probably all the way to here inside the elbow and into here inside the compression fitting. I'm going to, with the torch, remove probably from the elbow, pull the pipe out, cut 3/4 of an inch off so that when it's reassembled there will only be maybe 1/4 of an inch exposed pipe rather than an inch worth of exposed pipe, and that should allow me to align this compression fitting down below when I reassemble the new water filter. Okay, so here I am in the shed. I've got my old water filter head, my new water filter head, and you can see it is readily apparent how much difference there is between the spacing of the inlet and outlet openings and how much I need to remove from the copper pipe. Which best guess is about 1 inch, maybe 7/8. I'm going to go with 3/4. Only because if I need to remove more, I can remove more. If I need to add some, that's a little more difficult. Incidentally, the solder that I'm using is lead-free silver solder and lead-free flux with silver filling. It melts at a considerably high temperature, considerably higher temperature than tin lead compositions. So it's a little more difficult to work with for sure, but it is lead-free, so not that it matters, because I'm sure most of the fittings in my house are sweated with tin lead solder anyway. I'm actually going to do it this way because I'm right-handed. I can see the solder starting to flow a little bit. In just a moment, this elbow will become free. Trying to heat it evenly all the way around. There it goes. Okay. Now the way I'm going to clean this up is I'm going to take a wet rag and just wipe the solder off. Probably wearing gloves for that. There we go. I'll just do it that way. Okay. So that's nice and clean. And now if I can find my pipe cutter, which I'm pretty sure I brought down, in my pocket. Alright, so here's my pipe cutter. I'm going to put it on the pipe and remove about 3/4 of an inch. And for those of you who have never used a pipe cutter like this before, you just give it a 1/4 turn, roll it around a couple of times. The rolling blade just presses its way through. And I was going to pick that up, but I don't think I'm going to do that. That's probably a bad idea. So, let's clean out the debris inside. Will of course get flushed out of the system. Now the next thing you need to do is you need to clean up the copper pipe on the outside. Alright, so I can touch that now. You need to clean that up so that solder will flow.
the copper itself is somewhat oxidized and dark in color. You want it to be nice and shiny. We've got some 80 grit and some 150 grit. I'm going to start with the 80. Okay, so that's nice and clean. Now the last step is to reattach this fitting, elbow fitting, back onto the pipe. Now you'll notice it does not just slide back into place because there's still some solder inside here that has not been cleaned out, but once I reheat it, it will fit right back into place. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of temporarily set it into place like this. I'm going to heat it, apply some solder to it, and then push the pieces back together again. This is the flux that helps the solder to flow evenly. So I'll make sure to spread a nice even layer all the way around. You want the solder to flow inside this joint very evenly. So the trick to soldering is to apply the heat from the back, get enough heat all the way up to the front, and with the heat from the back, literally pull the solder. Ouch, it's hot. Don't touch the tip of the solder after you've heated it. Okay? When you've done it right, it flows right into the gap of the pipe and it sort of disappears. Kind of gets sucked right into it, literally. And it's okay if it drips off the bottom a little bit, okay? You want to make sure that the gap between the piece of pipe and the fitting that you're slipping over it is completely filled with solder so that it holds back water pressure. And now I'm just going to let this cool off for a little bit before I touch it because I've already burned myself with the tip of the solder on this roll. But this should go back together fairly well now. Alright, so I've reapplied more Teflon tape and I'm ready to start assembling my fittings again. And if I've done my measurements correctly, my fittings should line up.
that looks pretty good. This is the filter that came with it, which is the same as the filter that I put in the last one, so I'm going to start with the filter that I had before. Keep the new one as a replacement. Now they give you this nifty little wrench here to fit around the casing to tighten it up. And that should be it. So if I've done my job correctly, I should be able to turn the water back on, close up the water faucets, turn on the hot water heater, and have filtered water. So right now it's off. I'm going to turn the water pump on just by screwing in the fuses. Okay, so if I've done my job correctly, I should be able to turn this valve on back here, and we should start seeing the water fill in the canister. Alright, so here I go. Wow, that's a very good sign. So that's all for now from the laundry room. To those of you who would be critical of me for showing others how to become more self-sufficient, please kiss my ass. To those of you who benefit, I'm glad you did. Please rate, comment, share, and subscribe to my videos, and as always, peace everyone.